Welcome to Mystic Recaps, where we bring you closer to the heart of the stories. Today, we're exploring the incredible journey of Sergei Oleshkov, the youngest soldier of World War II, as depicted in the must-see 2019 film, Soldier Boy. Get ready to be transported back in time and witness the bravery and determination of this remarkable hero. The movie starts off with a family of three who clearly have no idea what's about to hit them, leisurely enjoying their time by the river. The baby of the family, Sergei Oleshkov, shows off to his big brother and mother about how he's the king of the world up on a tree. That is until German fighter jets come soaring by. The mother, scared, instructs her children to hide in the bushes. But oh no, little Sergei thinks he's indestructible and decides to take down the jets with a slingshot. To everyone's shock and probably amusement, he actually succeeds in destroying the jets. But when he looks around, his family has vanished. Sergei wakes up from his heroic nap, confused and scared, calling for his mother. Just as he does, someone knocks on the door. Thinking it's his mother, he runs over eagerly, only to be met with a panicked neighbor woman. She thanks her lucky stars that Sergei is still alive and breaks the news to him that his mother and brother are dead. Poor little Sergei just can't grasp what's going on. He wants to stay and wait for his mother to come back, but the neighbor woman tries to make him understand that the Germans have attacked and he needs to run. Just when things couldn't get any worse, soldiers show up at their house. The neighbor woman tries to help Sergei escape through the window, but she's shot dead before she can follow him. And there we have it, a 6-year-old boy all on his own, with no family or friends. As Sergei runs away, he sees the remnants of his neighborhood burning down behind him. The brave Russian boy, Sergei, realizes he's not going to find his mother anytime soon and decides to make a run for it. In a desperate attempt to flee, he ends up lost in the middle of the woods. But Sergei isn't one to give up easily. He calls out for his mother, determined to be reunited with her. Unfortunately, she doesn't come and Sergei is left to spend a night alone in the jungle. The next morning, Sergei is drinking water from the river, minding his own business, when the enemy soldiers show up. Sergei, being the clever kid he is, quickly hides among the tree roots. A snake tries to scare him, but Sergei isn't easily frightened. He's more scared of enemy soldiers than a harmless snake. The soldiers have a little snack by the river and go on their way, leaving behind some scraps of food that Sergei eagerly devours. However, 2 days without a proper meal takes a toll on Sergei. He's exhausted and limping, but still pushing forward. Along the way, he finds some wild berries and gobbles them up. Just as he's starting to feel a little better, an explosion rocks the area and takes Sergei by surprise. The boy gets dizzy and starts to hallucinate, imagining someone coming after him. But let's be real, it's just the Germans trying to scare him. They should know by now that Sergei isn't afraid of anything. Despite the adverse circumstances, Sergei decides to show off his bravery by announcing that he's armed and not afraid. But all that bravado quickly fades as he succumbs to his injuries and falls unconscious. That's when 2 soldiers find him laying unconscious in the woods. These soldiers, bless their hearts, take him to a nearby base. After the child introduces himself, the soldiers have a good laugh at the commander's expense when the kid insists on a proper introduction. The soldiers take a liking to the kid and do their best to nurse him back to health. Feeding, watering, the whole shebang. Even the typically stoic Commander Kuznetsov gets in on the nurturing. Nurse Katia addresses the child's wounds and is smitten with his charming personality. The child, Sergei, has aspirations of becoming a soldier one day and even asks for a tank to be drawn on his wounds. He befriends even the injured soldiers and has a fascination with the commander's gun and badge. How adorable. The big bad commander finally decides to entertain the little boy's endless barrage of questions and even lets him play with his trusty but an unloaded pistol. Sergei, with a tank tattooed on his belly, brags about being a soldier. And just like that, the boy's rapid recovery is in full swing. The nurse, Katia, tries to convince the commander to let the boy stay with the battalion. But the commander says, "Nope, not happening," and claims that it's not safe. Who knows what could happen to a kid in the middle of a war zone? The soldiers, who have grown attached to Sergei, are devastated. They spend all their free time with him, showering him with gifts from home and even letting him play with their binoculars. The soldiers have formed a tight bond with the young lad and consider him one of their own. His presence is a ray of sunshine amidst the horrors of war. But the commander remains stubborn, thinking only of the boy's safety, and wants to send him to an orphanage. The next day, the enemies attack, and the casualties are high. And just when the soldiers thought things couldn't get any worse, a vehicle arrives to take Sergei to the orphanage. The commander hands over a wooden pistol and breaks the news to Sergei. But wait, it gets better. Sergei, bless his little soul, hugs the commander and expresses his fear for his safety. And just like that, the tough and stoic commander melts into a puddle of emotions and decides to allow Sergei to stay. How sweet. It's pajama party time. The soldiers scrounge up some tiny soldier outfits for Sergei and everyone is thrilled to have a new member in their gang. The commander bestows the new duds upon Sergei, who runs around like a kid in a candy store. Literally. But just as the boy is living his best life, the Germans decide to crash the party with an air attack. Party poopers. The soldiers scramble to protect Sergei as the injuries pile up. Sergei, eager to help, offers water to the thirsty soldiers. But then a blinded soldier asks him to read a letter from his family. Poor Sergei wants to help, but unfortunately, he hasn't learned to read yet. Despite this, Sergei fabricates a story about a soldier's cow being safe back home. The soldier protests that he doesn't actually have a cow, but Sergei just tells him to go along with it and enjoy the charade. He then proceeds to read everyone else's letters with the same flair and leaves his audience in stitches. Meanwhile, in the background, Katya and the commander share an intense moment of eye contact that could have melted glaciers, but alas, their mutual attraction remains unspoken. Later, Sergei proudly declares himself to be the newest addition to the battalion's orderly position and takes it upon himself to educate the commander about his newfound duties. But just as Sergei starts getting comfortable in his new role, reality strikes and he witnesses the destruction of one of the soldiers' stations. The commander, being the epitome of a responsible leader, teaches Sergei the importance of paying respect to the fallen. The next day, Sergei is on a mission, determined to prove his worth, and is tasked with the distribution of letters among the troops. Efficiency is Sergei's middle name, and he manages to complete his task with flying colors, even making the soldiers dance to his tunes. The following day, he wanders off a little too far from the base with his binoculars, but little did he know that he was in for a surprise. As he was playing with the binoculars, he stumbled upon a moving leg sticking out from a haystack. Sergei rushes back to the battalion with the news, but the soldiers are skeptical, to say the least. Nonetheless, they follow the boy on his wild goose chase. Finally, they arrive at the haystack, and to their surprise, they discover 2 German spies lurking about. The quick-witted kid alerts the others and the spies are promptly arrested. The commander is so proud of the kid's intelligence that he shows him the adoption papers, making him his official son. Sergei, being the grateful child he is, wants to repay the commander's kindness, so he takes him to talk to Katya. However, they soon find out that Katya is chatting with another man and, like a jealous duo, they jump to the conclusion that she's interested in someone else. Just as they are getting over that shock, the Germans attack again. Sergei, being the hero that he is, jumps into action and starts supplying ammo to the soldiers on the front line. But the soldiers tell Sergei to head back to the shed because it's not safe for a 6-year-old out there. As Sergei returns to the shed, he finds the commander and the others panicking because the phone connection with the colonel has been lost. A soldier is sent to fix the broken wires, but Sergei follows and finds the soldier fatally wounded. With his quick thinking, Sergei asks the dying soldier how to fix the wires and takes matters into his own hands. And just like that, the connection is restored and more troops are called in. The kid's bravery saves everyone. Sometime later, the commander and Katya are having a heart-to-heart by the river, and the commander finally musters up the courage to confess his undying love for her and ask her to be Sergei's new mommy. Katya is beyond thrilled, but before she can even say "I do," a soldier comes along to rain on their parade, with a dispatch letter from the base. The next day, the soldiers pack up and head off to their new digs, taking Sergei along for the ride. But of course, nothing ever goes according to plan. The group stumbles upon a minefield that blows up some of their vehicles, leaving the commander injured and the group's orderly, who was close to Sergei, dead as a doornail. Sergei cries and hugs the commander, and they carry the wounded and forge ahead to their new base, where they finally meet the big boss, the general. The general is just as impressed as everyone else with Sergei's ambition and intelligence. The division is awarded a guard's banner and Sergei is awarded a spot as a mini-guard. He promises to save the country, because why not? The next night, their base is under attack and the commander is trapped under the ruins. Sergei cries for his dad and tries to save him, but is unable to free him by himself. So, he calls in the cavalry. Thankfully, the soldiers finally manage to drag the commander out of harm's way. The next day, Sergei approaches the injured commander. His hands were also hurt while attempting to save the commander. How heroic. The kid has now become an inseparable part of the team. He doesn't have a family to call his own, so he's just going to tag along with the soldiers to the next war zone. And that's exactly what happens, as the movie ends with the regiment moving to their next base. Here it is revealed that Sergei even took part in the infamous Battle of Stalingrad and made it all the way to Poland with the soldiers. Want to be the cool kid at school? Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and press the like button, because that will definitely help spread the story of Sergei's bravery. Thanks for watching. Until next time.